But why did France ban abaya in state schools? France banned female students from wearing abayas as the new school year started on September 4, 2023. An abaya is a long-sleeved, floor-long, mostly black-in-style garment worn by women. The ban in France was not just limited to the abaya, also the camis worn by males were barred from state classrooms. The French education minister says that students wearing these clothes to state school won't be permitted into classes. Instead, they will be sent for a discussion on their choice of clothing. This ministerial decision has generated plenty of discussion with widely differing views. History of the bans on clothes in France. In France, historically, differences between religious and non-religious people have often resulted in deep divisions in society. With the French Revolution of 1789, the relations between the Church of France and the state were seriously strained. A strict ban on religious symbols in schools began in the 19th century to prevent Catholic influence in public education. In 1905, the French government put a law in place requiring the separation of church and state. This meant that schools directly operated by the national or local governments could not endorse or promote any religious belief. In 2004, President Jacques Chirac's government banned headscarves worn by Muslims from state schools. This ban also covers other dresses associated with other faiths, such as Jewish kippah caps and large Christian crosses. 6 years later, France became the first European country to bring in a ban on full-face veils in public spaces, known as the burqa ban. This ban was widely criticized by Muslims in and out of France, as it was targeting Muslim women only. In July 2010s, hundreds of Muslims protested against the bill in Karachi, Pakistan. The law was challenged and taken to the European Court of Human Rights. However, the European Court supported France's decision. The burqa ban was also accepted by other European countries like Belgium, Bulgaria, Austria, and Denmark. In 2016, President Nicolas Sarkozy suggested he was in favor of banning the wearing of the Muslim headscarf in public. Sarkozy in one of the interviews gave a reason for his opinion, saying, "On French soil, we don't accept inequalities between men and women." However, this ban has never been realized as a bill in the French grounds. Nevertheless, later in the year, several French municipalities banned the burkini, an Islamic swimming costume that covers the body and head. They cited concerns about this religious clothing in the wake of recent terrorist killings in the country. However, France's highest administrative court upheld a nationwide ban on the wearing of burkini in public pools. Finally, 2023, on September 4th, the French government announced a ban on girls in state schools wearing abayas, loose-fitting dresses worn by some female Muslim students. The reaction. When the abaya ban was introduced, the politicians on the right wing welcomed the news. French Education Minister Gabriel Attal said the abaya has no place in our schools. President Macron said French authorities will be uncompromising in their enforcement of a new ban on abayas in schools. Regarding public opinion, recent polls suggest that most people in France support the ban. Teachers' unions also welcomed the declaration made by the government, saying that this certainly gives clarity on the issue. Many people in France think that educational institutions should be exempt from any religious signs and accessories. And as long as the schools remain secular, the rules should be respected by all. But why is France so decisive on these bans? The French Revolution had a significant impact on the role of religion in France. How the religion is perceived and the role of God in politics was completely changed. After the revolution, the law of the people was considered to have higher importance than the law of God, and this remained at the core of the French identity. Laicity, French secularism, is all about the complete removal of religious values from the public sphere. And the religious values are replaced with secular values such as liberty, equality, and fraternity. What do most Muslims think about the recent abaya ban? Undoubtedly, Muslim women in France are already familiar with the bans on Islamic clothing. The Muslim Council has said that the abaya is tied to Arab culture. It is misrepresented as a Muslim religious sign, and it is more like a cultural garment mostly worn in Middle Eastern countries. As this ban targets only one religion, most Muslims think the ban is an attack on Islam, especially on Muslim women. The other opposition came from the politicians on the left wing. They said that this is just another example of Islamophobia from President Macron's government. And this ban is just a PR stunt to try and distract people from the real issues in the education system. The spirit of secularism was to reinforce French identity and to protect it from external influence. However, it has been used increasingly as a weapon from a perceived internal threat of other religions, especially from Muslims. Muslims argue that instilling bans on the clothing will lead to two adverse outcomes. The first is the racial profiling. Because the ban will target Muslim girls of certain ethnicities such as Arabs, Turks, Asians, and from some African countries. Girls with these specific races or ethnicities will be implicitly labeled as suspects and committing an offense in society. The second outcome is that instead of a religious authority, it is the government who is deciding if a garment is religious or not. This will open the door for the French government to have a say on which other garments or accessories represent religion in the future, and give them the ability to enforce a ban on these garments or accessories on religious grounds. Western world showed support to the Iranian women when they protested against the Iranian government's harsh application of the modesty laws. We saw some feminists posted videos of themselves weeping for the Iranian women on social media. At that time, no one seemed to like the idea of a government dictating women's choices of clothes. But recently, when the French government introduced a law dictating what young Muslim girls should wear, the very same people went silent. France could have chosen a path where it could honor individual religious liberties and cultural diversity of its own citizens. This would not violate its secularism principle, which they would dearly hold on to. Instead of prohibiting religious clothing, the government should prioritize education and promote tolerance among French students. Muslim girls should be able to feel free to practice their religion without fear of persecution or discrimination. If France prefers to embrace diversity rather than suppress it, it will be able to reaffirm its cherished values of liberty, equality, and fraternity.